Yes.
All right, so in order to begin matting our pieces, we need to measure our original piece. So I'm going to measure this photograph, and when I measure it, the length goes to 9.5. So I'm going to write that down. And then I'm going to turn my photograph, and I'm going to check the width, and that goes to 6 3/4. And so that is 6.75. Yep. All right, so now I am going to do, I'm going to start adding the edges of the mat. So the mat or the frame around the photograph is 2 inches on each side. So because this is the length, I need 2 inches on each side, which is 4. So I'm going to add 4 here. And then the same thing here. For the width, it is 2 inches on each side, which is +4. And so 9.5 plus 4 is 13.5. And then 6.75 plus 4 is 10.75. And that's going to be the outside edge of the mat.
Alrighty.
All right, so when we need to cut the outside of our mat, we need to get a piece of mat board. And so if you're AP, you're going to use the black mat that's to the left of the mat, to the cutting board. And if you're not AP, you're going to use the white mat board. Okay? And so I need to cut it. And so my measurements were 10.5 by 10.75 by 13.5. And those measurements are up here along this ruler. So I'm going to do the short edge first, which was 10 3/4. And so I put it all the way to the top. I check to make sure it's lined up, and I pull the cutting device close to the mat. So I pull it to the left. And then I'm going to cut the other side at 13.5. So I'm going to place it there. I'm going to make sure it's all lined up. And then I pull it to the left and I cut it. All right, so now it's time to cut the mat using the mat cutter. And so I've cut my mat board into the size using the cutting board. And now I'm going to lift up this arm. It's already set up to the right size. And I'm going to measure my piece and demonstrate it with a pencil. So I'm going to go over the line. I'm going to trace it up against the arm. I'm going to turn it and make sure it's up against this edge here on the left and down at the bottom. And this is to just check before we start cutting our mat board that we have the right size, because sometimes we don't measure correctly. So once I've done my square, my rectangle, I'm going to check with my photograph. And I'm just going to place it. I'm going to check to make sure that all of the pencil lines that I drew are covered up. And that means that the photograph won't fall through the hole. And so now, still being upside down, I'm going to, okay, so now that I'm ready to cut, I'm going to place the mat board back down. I'm going to put the arm down as well. And then I'm going to use the mat cutter blade. And this line here is what I need to line up to my pencil lines. Okay, and that's where the blade comes down. So I line it up here, and then I'm going to push with my thumb all the way down, and I'm going to press as I push up and make sure the lines line up again. And then I'm going to turn it. I'm going to do the exact same thing again. So I push down, I line it up here, I push so the lines line up again, and I start to have it cut. Again, put it all down, and I look like I should just move that other mat board out of the way, but it's really important to have that here as a backer board so the cuts are made smoothly. So again, push. And then push for the last time. And then it should come all the way out like this, and you have a mat for your piece. All right, so now we have the mat and the photograph. And so I'm going to flip the mat over. I'm going to flip the photograph over. And I'm going to take a small piece of tape to just check to make sure it's lined up properly. So I take the tape off. I'm just going to check first to make sure it's lined up properly. So I have that, and then I can come back over and make sure that it's centered. And it is. And so now I'm going to tape all 4 sides all the way down. And I want to tape opposite sides first, like so, and then tape the final sides like this, making sure that the tape doesn't hang over. And then you have a matted piece of work.